Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we dive into a startling development that could shake the very foundations of Russia's aerial warfare capabilities. We're talking about a new major problem for the Russian military, one that hits them squarely in their ambitions to dominate the skies, specifically in the fighter jet realm. For years, Russia has invested heavily in advanced fighters like the Su-57, the Su-35, and modern variants of the Su-30, pushing hard to maintain parity or even superiority over NATO and other rivals. But now an unexpected combination of technical, logistical, and strategic challenges is beginning to threaten their aerial edge. And in this video, we'll break down what those challenges are, how they arrived, and what they might mean for Russia's military future. The first piece of trouble is the supply chain crunch. Russia's defense industry has long relied not only on domestic component manufacturing, but also on imports for certain microelectronics, advanced sensors, and rare materials. Sanctions and export restrictions from Western and allied nations have tightened. What used to be marginal friction is now becoming a full-blown bottleneck. Without consistent access to high-end semiconductors, avionics parts, specialized composite materials, and advanced cooling systems, fighter jets, especially next-gen models, can't operate at full capacity for long. We are already seeing reports that some Su-57 aircraft are grounded because of missing parts or delays in receiving replacements. Factory maintenance schedules are slipping. Upgrades that were supposed to be routine are now being deferred. The effect is cumulative. Operational readiness drops, fleets shrink in effective size, and Russia's flexibility in deploying air power diminishes. Secondly, pilot training and attrition present another major problem. Building a top-tier fighter is one thing, keeping a cadre of highly trained pilots capable of exploiting every system is another. Training pipelines are being stretched. Some experienced pilots are being lost in ongoing operations, and replacements are being rushed in. The result is that many pilots entering frontline service may not have had full exposure to the advanced systems, multi-role flexibility, or high-intensity combat scenarios. Couple that with issues of morale, fatigue, and wear from prolonged deployment, and you begin to see cracks. In air combat, pilot experience and decision-making are often the deciding factor, and you can't easily shortcut that by installing a better radar. The degradation in human capital is a hard-to-quantify but potentially devastating problem. Third, there's the maintenance and sustainment burden. Fighter jets are complex machines requiring constant upkeep. Engines, hydraulics, radar systems, stealth coatings, and weapon interfaces all age and degrade with use. Without reliable maintenance logistics, jets can't fly as often, are taken off for longer repair cycles, or suffer unpredicted failures in the air. In many cases, damage from minor combat engagements or mechanical faults may go unrepaired for too long, compounding wear. In forward, deployed zones where infrastructure is less robust, these maintenance issues are magnified. Fuel, spare parts, specialized repair facilities, and even qualified technicians can become scarce. Without that backbone, combat aircraft are like high-performance race cars run without proper servicing. They exist, but their performance and lifespan decline sharply. Fourth, there is the challenge of upgrading and staying ahead in the technological race. The pace of advancement in stealth, radar, electronic warfare, sensors, data links, and missile technologies is relentless. Russia is under pressure to not just match but actually innovate. But research and development are hampered by funding constraints, sanctions, brain drain, and limited collaboration with foreign partners. The result is that while Russia may field capable jets, keeping them cutting edge becomes harder every year relative to adversaries who have broader access to global tech ecosystems. Fifth, the strategic reach and basing conundrum. Russia's theater of operations is vast, from its western flank with NATO to its southern border proximity to the Middle East, and even in the Far East facing China and Japan. Maintaining forward bases, airstrips, hardened shelters, and supply lines across that enormous space is enormously expensive and vulnerable. In many potential conflict zones, Russia lacks sufficient air superiority infrastructure, especially in contested or remote regions. These logistical challenges magnify any deficiency in fighter jet readiness. You might have a handful of state-of-the-art jets, but if you can't basing them close to the front, protect them from attack, resupply them, or maintain them, their utility diminishes. Next is the political and economic dimension. The Russian government is under pressure, both from external economic sanctions and internal budgetary constraints. Defense procurement competes with social spending, infrastructure, and other priorities, especially when prolonged military engagements strain the national coffers. Cost overruns, corruption, and inefficiencies are well documented. Even if the ambition is to build large fleets of modern fighters, money and effective governance run out. We also can't ignore the morale and political risk. If the public begins to perceive that the military is failing or that losses are being buried, political pressure can mount. That risk is magnified when expensive weapon systems, fighter jets cost hundreds of millions apiece, are seen to be ineffective, overpromised, or grounded for lack of spare parts or support. Another key factor, adversarial countermeasures. Fighter jets rely heavily on stealth, sensors, electronic warfare, and missile systems. Adversaries, especially NATO, have stepped up investments in detection technologies, counter-stealth sensors, long-range missiles, and unmanned systems. The proliferation of ground-based radars, satellite reconnaissance, anti-air missile systems, drones that track jets, and long-range precision weapons means that even advanced Russian jets may face increasingly lethal environments. In contested airspace, a Russian jet may be detected, tracked, jammed, or engaged before it gets into an optimal strike position, and that advantage grows with time. The longer the war, the greater the chance that opponents refine tactics, integrate allied intel, and tighten networks. The more upfront advantages Russia loses, the harder it is to recover. On top of that, there's the problem of pilot survivability and attrition in contested environments. If advanced jets are shot down or lost to anti-aircraft systems, Russia faces both material loss and symbolic blow. Replacing lost fighters and pilots is far from trivial, especially given the supply chain and training constraints mentioned earlier. A further complication is the integration of new systems into existing fleets. Russia has a mixed inventory: older jets, upgraded models, experimental platforms. Harmonizing communications, data links, weapon integration, radar modes, and maintenance across all those variants is difficult. Interoperability challenges slow decision cycles and limit flexibility in deployment. And indeed, certain reports suggest that even internal disagreements over priorities are emerging. Some factions within Russia's military industrial complex may favor different platforms or approaches, some pushing more stealth and high-end jets, others focusing on cheaper multi-role fighters or unmanned aerial vehicles. That division can slow decision-making and muddle strategic direction. Looking outward, Russia's exposure in multiple theaters forces it to stretch its air power thin. It cannot concentrate its entire fighter force in one region without leaving other zones vulnerable. That means that its capacity to project concentrated air dominance is limited. In a high-intensity war, that dilution is dangerous. Against all this, what options does Russia have to mitigate or overcome these problems? One route is accelerating domestic production of components, especially in microelectronics and advanced materials. Pushing for self-reliance, import substitution, is a long-term path, but it's expensive and risky. It would require investment, talent retention, redesign of supply chains, and leapfrog innovation. Success is not guaranteed, especially under sanction pressure. Another is forging alliances and covert procurement. Russia might seek partnerships with nations willing to circumvent sanctions, but that carries political cost, risk of exposure, and technical compatibility issues. Worse, foreign-sourced parts may not integrate cleanly or be subject to backdoors or quality issues. Russia might also double down on unmanned systems, drones, UCAVs, loitering munitions, and rely more on swarms and attritional tactics. That approach lessens reliance on manned fighters but cedes more control and potentially lowers effectiveness in air-to-air dominance. It might become a partial workaround rather than a complete solution. Another avenue, streamlining training pipelines and developing better simulators, artificial intelligence assist systems, and decision aids that reduce pilot burden. If you can compress training time without sacrificing competence, that partly offsets pilot shortages, but that is tough, that is unpredictable, and nuance matters. Repair and maintenance networks may need decentralization and modularization, regional hubs, mobile repair units, spare parts stockpiles, designed to be resilient in contested environments, that can reduce downtime but requires investment and planning. Also, integrating more network-centric warfare, better situational awareness, stealth support, jamming, electronic warfare specialists, and deeper coordination among air, ground, and naval assets might compensate for fewer jets. Make every sortie more effective. That requires doctrine change, training, and seamless command and control. Russia may also adjust expectations, except that it can't patrol everywhere at once, rather concentrate on strategic corridors or priority zones. Hold back some assets, rotate deployment, and avoid overextending. That's risk management rather than solution. The crucial question is, how severe is this problem? How fast will it worsen? And can Russia adapt in time? Observers increasingly believe this is not a minor glitch but a structural challenge. The combination of parts shortages, pilot attrition, maintenance strain, and adversarial countermeasures acts like a slow squeeze. Over the course of years or sustained conflict, the cumulative effect can erode Russia's fighter force effectiveness more than losses from combat alone. In modeling future conflicts, it's likely Russian air dominance will be contested more than previously assumed. The edge may tilt to those who maintain robust supply chains, technological integration, pilot development, and agile doctrine. Russia's current problem raises the possibility that, in prolonged high-intensity wars against advanced opponents, its air forces may not be able to deliver sustained superiority. If Russia fails to address the problem, we could witness a degrading of its air mission profiles. Missions that once were routine air superiority, sweeps, deep strikes, escort missions, could become riskier, more cautious, or less frequent. The strategic calculus Russia uses to deter or project power may be undermined. For example, in theaters like Ukraine or beyond, Russia may find itself less able to deny adversary air operations, less able to support ground offensives with consistent air cover, and more vulnerable to counterattacks. That could shift battlefield dynamics. On the flip side, Western and other rival military planners will take note. If Russia's fighter fleet is progressively weakened not so much by bombs but by internal constraints, strategies can target those weaknesses through further sanctions, cyber disruption of supply chains, supply interdiction, and encouraging component-level embargoes. Ultimately, the story here is less about individual jets being lost in combat and more about an unraveling of the support system, the factory floor, the maintenance lines, the pilot core, and the innovation engine. The unexpected vulnerability Russia now faces is in sustaining advanced aviation over time, not just fighting with it at any single moment. In closing, Putin's new major problem for the Russian military isn't a single failed mission or a surprise attack. It's a deep systemic challenge in the fighter jet domain. Supply chain blockages, pilot attrition, maintenance overload, technological stagnation, and strategic overextension all colliding at once. If he and his military cannot swiftly and decisively resolve or mitigate these issues, Russia's aerial edge may erode faster than many expect.